Making money can be fun. It can be enjoyable. This video is going to share with you the frameworks that I use and the stories that I've cultivated along the way that have allowed me to create a life that is flexible. I get to do work that I enjoy. I get to have meaningful conversations with amazing people every day. I get to work on creative projects that fuel me instead of depleting me. How I managed to go from making more money in one day than I had in the previous 6 months, just through some simple mindset flips that just changed my whole perspective about how I operate in business and with other people. In order to be free in life, you do need money, yet sometimes holding on to the money that you have can cost you more than if you just spent it. Money, it's a holistic process. It's not this compartmentalized thing that a lot of people seem to think it is, that I thought it was. There's so much more to it, and ultimately it starts with yourself. And the sections of this video that I'm going to cover are going to involve mindset, your current relationship to money, and then finally we're going to end on skills and some practicalities about how you would go about generating more income today. It feels like the most appropriate way to begin this topic is to first define what do I mean when I say holistic. The definition of holistic is characterized by the belief that the parts of something are interconnected and can be explained only by reference to the whole. The quality of your life in the various aspects that I'm going to cover in this video is going to correlate with the money that you are able to generate. Let's talk about the mind aspect. In many ways, your mind is what creates your income ceiling. Income ceiling meaning the amount of money that you can make before you can't make anymore. For a lot of people, the reason that they don't generate the income that they would like is because they simply do not believe that it is possible. This can be boiled down to whether or not you ask for what it is you earn. I'm not saying that you could go into a job in a fast food restaurant and ask for how much you want and then receive that. It's not that straightforward, but I mean this in a holistic sense. If you're willing to ask for what you want, then you can indeed get what you want, but you need to organize your circumstances and holistically approach the scenario. So if you walk into a position as an employee and ask for X amount of money, you may not get that because that particular role in that context is valued at a certain rate. For the longest time, I didn't actually believe that I was ever going to earn more than minimum wage. I didn't think it was possible for me. I had come to terms with the fact that I would be just getting by for my whole life. Based on that belief and that approach I had taken to life, I wasn't seeking out anything other than minimum wage opportunities. I would see job listings for a minimum wage position and I would get excited, and then I would see other things and I would feel nothing because I just didn't have those things in my awareness as possibilities for me. I was limiting my income generation potential because I was just locked on to minimum wage opportunities, and because of that, that's what I experienced. When I began my self-employment journey, it was really interesting because I was maintaining that mindset in many respects, that I was thinking of the minimum wage relative to what I would earn. So when I would be doing video editing or videography or any of the creative work that my business was built upon, I would approach it from that same mindset, which was ultimately limiting my income because it was too locked on to the standard like wage charts and, you know, government statistics and all of these things and what's an average person earn and all of these things. And ultimately those are not, for the most part, what are going to get you to a place of flexibility and having an income that you're happy with, because they're based upon a traditional job and like the typical work week. The challenge that I still faced was that I was still locked into the mindset of somebody who is told how much they're allowed to make because that's what the minimum wage is, and everybody knows that in restaurants you get paid the minimum wage and you don't really get to negotiate too much. Maybe you go up by a couple of euros or dollars every now and again, but ultimately it kind of is what it is. Now I'm on a self-employment journey and I learned pretty quickly that charging low amounts or like trying to think about the work that I was doing in the context of an employee wasn't working. And the truth is I wasn't an employee anymore. I was a business, as small as a business as I was, I needed to take into consideration other things when it came to pricing clients. So it's not about working, for an hourly rate anymore. It's about, well, how much time did I spend researching that? How much time did I spend thinking about that? How much time does it take for me to organize all of my taxes, and my skill set and the knowledge that I have in my head that allows me to do the work that I'm doing? When you take all of that into consideration, you start to perceive yourself and the value that you have to give in a completely different way. Based on that, you might say, oh, I charge 50 an hour or 100 an hour. To the previous version of myself that had the mindset of a minimum wage worker, that was very strange and outlandish, because then what you do is you start calculating. You say, okay, there's 40 hours in a work week, 50 euro an hour, that's 5 times 40, add a zero on, and you get 2,000 per week. And then you get 8,000 per month. And that's like a lot of money when you come from the mindset of, making 10 or 12 euros an hour, whatever it was. But the thing is, you start to realize that it's not as simple as just clocking on and clocking off and then going home. When you're self-employed, life and business, you realize, is actually a lot more holistic than you originally thought. It's not as compartmentalized, because the time that you go for a walk to get a coffee could be an opportunity to network with a potential client. That's happened for me many times. I would just go and be living my life in the leisurely way that I often do, and I would bump into somebody who had a business or had the need for my services. When you start to approach life that way, you don't start seeing money as something correlated with clear input, because you're not clocking in, you're just waking up and living your life. And yeah, of course there's certain deliverables and things that you do within that, but just because you are doing a lot of tangible things one day and then another day you're not doing things that are as tangible, it doesn't mean that you're not still generating income. And we're going to get onto that at a later part of this video, where we look at the non-linear nature of income generation when we view it from a holistic perspective. But for now, let's just go back to the mindset of someone who is on an hourly rate has a certain ceiling baked into it, because there's only so many hours and there's only, so high you can go within that structure, versus the mindset that I shifted into. I used myself as an example. The mindset of viewing things more holistically and realizing that your income isn't necessarily tied to what other people say you're worth, and it's not tied to the hours that you work. Okay? So by making that mindset shift, we already pretty much eliminate the ceiling. Now, the second way that your mind determines your income generation ability is how others perceive you. And we're not talking about, lying or deceiving people, but we are talking about honest manipulation. What I mean by that is, you have value to give. I talk about this a lot in my videos. We all have value, more or less. Like, it's very rare that you won't have a profitable skill or, aspect of you to market and sell. But the part that we trip up on is the marketing of it. So when I say manipulate, positively manipulate people, we're just identifying what's within us, and then we're finding a way to showcase that so that people can perceive that in the way that we want them to, in the way that gives them confidence in us and our ability to help them with their problems. Because ultimately, your ability to generate income is determined by your ability to help people. And it's easier to help people when they know that you can help them. And by having a dodgy email address or, an Instagram page with no profile picture, that is not giving a lot of confidence to potential clients that want to pay you money for the help that you can give them. The mindset of others is something that we need to take into consideration. A lot of people respect me a lot more than I believe I deserve, if I'm being honest, because I have a YouTube channel with nice looking videos, good quality audio. The thumbnails, I put a lot of effort and consideration into those. And because of that, people come back and they watch the videos and they get value out of it. And that gives a lot of confidence to a potential client, because they can see, okay, this is a person who's clearly worth listening to, because look at the views on some of these videos, look at the comments, look at the engagement, look at how many people have experienced benefit from what this person is doing or sharing. So many people have skills and they have the ability to tap into a wealth of resources and knowledge within themselves, but they don't, because they don't position themselves in order to impact their potential clientele. That's something I learned the hard way. If I'm honest, I was always kind of anti-marketing and not wanting to play the game, so to speak. But I realized that that was just a mindset issue on my part. I didn't realize the value in playing the game, because it allowed other people to realize the value that I could bring to them and their businesses and their journey, which was in turn going to help them. And that's helping the world, which is something I strive to do, is to empower people to tap into their wealth of knowledge and to share that with the world, to have a positive ripple throughout. And in doing so, you get to cultivate a lifestyle of flexibility that serves you, that you enjoy. And everybody wins when you honestly and tactfully articulate the gifts that you have to share. If people don't perceive you as valuable, they're not going to get in touch with you, because why would they? We're all living our lives. We all have our challenges, and we all are looking for solutions to them. If it's not apparent you have a solution, it's rare that someone might come to you. And that's one of my business offerings at the moment, is mentorship, to help people with their communication of the skills and the gifts that they have with the outside world through content creation. So that's something that you're interested in. There's a link in the description. You can check that out and we can get in touch and have a chat. Now, moving on, we're going to talk about your current relationship to money and how that impacts your ability to generate money. The main area that I want to focus on here is your risk tolerance. Now, obviously, we have our lives that we're living, we have our expenses, and sometimes you just don't have the money to invest in certain things. That's fine. That's a practical thing. You figure that out for yourself. I'm not here to give you budgeting tips. When it comes to business and income generation in an entrepreneurial way, it's often non-linear and it's often nonsensical. You don't know why you do things immediately, but at points down the road it becomes clear. So it's about the big picture. Just a simple example, we could take software like Premiere Pro, right? It costs money. It's what I use to edit these videos. It's what most people in the industry use to edit videos. It's expensive. It is possible to get it through illegitimate ways, but there's downsides to that, because it might just crash and you don't know what to do. You can't do the work that you want to do because there's no support there. You don't have the official whatever stuff that comes with paying for something, the honest way, you'll say. No judgment. So those are the positives to purchasing something, but there's also the downside that that money is left your bank account. And then you got to ask yourself the question, do I value that money in my account more? Do I value having a software that is reliable, that is going to be there, that there's support there that when I need it? And that's an individual answer. For me, I realized that I need to know that my machinery and my tools are going to be there when I want to go to work, when I want to work on things. So for me, it actually costs me more money to not invest in the proper product. And so that's a choice that I make with a lot of things. I'll just pay for it because I know that that gives me the headspace required to generate even more money, to the point where that amount I spent on that thing doesn't matter. Another example I often see is like websites or like email addresses. I get a lot of people contacting me trying to sell me their services. And then I go and I look at their website and it's out of order. Or I look at their email address and it's got a bunch of numbers and it just looks unprofessional. I know with like some website builders, you can get a free version, but it has like a watermark saying that it's, built on Wix or whatever. And that just comes across as amateur and not serious. So you could be like the best person in the world, but if you're emailing me from Jimothy171910 at iCloud.com, it's just, I just immediately put that in junk in my mind. It's probably already in the junk folder, literally. But it's important that you invest in things that are going to further your business. And that's why you need to be able to take risks. And that's like a very minor risk that we're talking about here. It's like, can you pay the full 150? And that could be the difference between landing a 1,000 euro client or not landing that client. So if you think about it that way, you're actually losing 850 euro by not paying for the full subscription. So often the money that you spend is actually going to be directly reflective of the money that comes in. And the money that you're saving, well, depending on how you look at it, you're not saving anything. So it's about letting go of the need for short-term gratification of saving and being willing to step into a place of delayed gratification where you can actually earn a lot more, but you got to give a little bit up front. The reason a company that people work for is very wealthy is because they've taken on a lot of risk, whereas the employee isn't really risking anything. And that's why they get paid what they get paid, because there is no risk. And when there's no risk involved, there isn't any room really on the downside, nor is there a whole lot on the upside. And it's a personal decision you make. If you're watching this video, I assume that you're interested in different avenues of generating income. So, maybe you're looking to transition out of that, or maybe you already are and you're looking to just learn a bit more from someone else's perspective. Another example is buying a camera for 1,000 euro versus using a phone or whatever that doesn't have good quality. Yeah, you're saving money on the camera, but you could literally record the same video on a phone and it's a completely different video. Like, you perceive me differently here than you do here. Over here you're like, who's this hippie? And over here you're like, who's this hippie? But wow, that's a nice picture quality. Spending money isn't money lost, but it's an investment. And investments often, not always, but often will return more than what you put in initially. And if you're investing sensibly, then on average, if we're comparing it to the stock market, you're going to end up with more money than you started with. So it makes sense to invest sensibly and to identify the things that are going to help grow your business and then put money into those, knowing that yes, it's a short-term loss, but it's a long-term gain. And that's why also we do, stuff that doesn't pay. Like, it's possible that this video gets 10 views and I've just sat here for hours thinking about it and recording it and editing it and nothing comes of it. And that's a risk I'm willing to take, is that I've wasted my afternoon. Now, the positive upside is that this video could get 10,000 views, it could get 100,000, it could get 1 million views. And of that 1 million views, I could get some new clients. I could get, different brand deals. I'd be generating income immediately from AdSense on YouTube. And ultimately, that's what you're taking on when you step into the realm of entrepreneurship and approaching income generation from a holistic perspective. You got to be willing to lose, because honestly, if you don't take risks in this day and age, it's really tough. And I'm not saying it's not tough when you take the other path of risk taking. It's tough there too, but it just makes sense that you would take risks for things that you actually care about. I'm interested in art and creativity, in designing a life that excites me, and I managed to do that for myself, and it's something I am evolving through every day. And the reason I share these videos is because I want other people to experience the fulfillment that comes from that. And I'm just sharing, the tips and the things that have worked for me, and I will continue to learn and to share that as well. And another example here that I just really want to say is YouTube Premium. Like, if you're on YouTube and you get ads served to you, I would ask you to ask yourself, how does that impact you? Because I know for me, my life has become so much more abundant because I pay for YouTube Premium. And I'm not saying it's because I pay for YouTube Premium, but I am saying that I would often have my emotional state be shifted by the ads that I was served, and it would just totally distract me from what I was actually trying to do, like what video I was trying to watch, or like what thread. Like if I'm trying to learn something and then I go on a video and I'm trying to learn the thing and then I get served an ad for this, I'm like, all of a sudden I'm thinking about a food delivery service, and you don't need that. I didn't need that. So there's so much clutter that comes with ads, and you got to realize that, yeah, you're not paying to watch YouTube videos, but you're paying either with your attention or you're paying with your money. So choose which is more valuable to you. So the point here is that just because you're saving money, let's say saving money in the short term, does not mean that you're actually saving money in the long term. You could actually be losing money in the long term, because those 10 minutes that you spend worrying about that thing that you haven't dealt with properly could have been 10 minutes spent chilling, or it could have been 10 minutes spent going for a coffee where you meet this person who ends up having a big deal for you. Am I saying that if you have watermarks or cracked copies of things that you're going to fail? Absolutely not. I'm sure plenty of people are way more successful than me with cracked copies of Premiere Pro. That's not the point. The point is, if you save money or if you spend money, does not make it better or worse for your overall income generation process. Another example of this is taking on small jobs with annoying clients that don't pay you much and ask a lot of you. You could hold on to those clients and have a headache and, you know, a little bit of money coming in, or you could say no and then have nothing happen for 2 weeks. But that space is what allows the big fish or the higher paying client, who actually requires way less of your attention than these 3 people that are penny pinching. It's pretty commonly experienced in business that the client that wants to haggle on the offer and get a lower price is going to be the most particular, whereas the person that pays a higher fee, they're just a lot easier to deal with because it doesn't mean as much to them. So that's something I learned through a lot of pain myself, and charging very low amounts and just taking whatever they would give me. I never really had much peace of mind at that time, and my income was the lowest it had been at that time. And there was one day where I had a conversation with a friend and someone who was way further ahead in the game than me, around, you know, a content creation business. And I asked him how much he charges, and he told me that he charges how much he charges. It was about 5 times what I was charging at the time. And I said, wow, that's crazy. And he was like, yeah, well, if you tell people how much it is and they don't want to pay it, they're probably not serious about it. And if they are serious about it, they'll just say yeah. And so that night I was arranging a quote for a client, a potential client, and I told them the price, and it was 5 times what I usually charged. And I was so nervous because I was thinking, oh my God, what if I don't get the work? What if this fails? And, you know, it probably will fail because I'm still calibrated to minimum wage jobs and not really earning enough to support myself. And the guy said, sounds great. So just like that, overnight, by choosing to ask for how much I wanted, I got it. And since then, you know, I'm probably 3 times that amount now. So I went from one rate and then I 5x that overnight just by asking a question. And now I have a lot more experience and a lot more interest, I suppose, in what I have to share, that I can command a higher price again. But ultimately, if you don't ask, you don't get. So the mindset that you approach life with is going to determine the questions that you ask, and the questions that you ask are going to determine the income in your bank account. Because if you're not willing to ask for how much you want, you know, be it 100 a day or 500 a day or 10,000 a day, you're just not going to get it, because it's rare that someone's going to turn around and tell you the exact figure that you really want. So you have to tell them and allow them to either say yes or no. And a lot of people will say no. A lot of people won't be able to afford your services, and that's fine. It's about having the patience and understanding that on a long enough timeline with that approach, you will generate more money, assuming that you have the skills and that you actually have the value and the gifts to share, which is something that you might need to cultivate. We'll get onto that at the end of the video with some actionable steps for you to actually implement this and put it into practice so you can generate more money. So to make this really concrete, I want to just give you an example. let's say we have 1 year and we're going to approach the year differently from two different mindsets. 1 year, you're going to take on 10 clients and they're all going to pay you 1,000. And you do the work, you make 10,000, and there's quite a bit of work going on there. Now, another scenario, same year, different mindset. We only take on 3 clients, but we charge 3,333 per client. So now we end up with the same income and we've worked a lot less. And you might say, how could I work less? You know, I've charged so much for those individuals. Like one of those clients is probably equal to 3 of the other clients that I'm charging less for. And that's not actually true. In my experience, the highest paying jobs that I've done have been the most simple and straightforward. The lowest paying ones that I've done have been the most complicated and infuriating. I was doing jobs for £10 an hour and it was so infuriating. It took me forever. The client wanted so many revisions all of the time and it was £10 an hour. What can I say? It was terrible. So get that out of your head because it's not true. And I understand why you might think it's true because I thought it was true. But in actual reality, it's not. So if you just ask for what you want, you'll either get it or you won't get it. Either way, it's fine. Then you do the job and you get the revenue, you get the experience, you get the testimonial, you get all of that confidence that comes with earning more. So it's hard to earn what you don't believe you can earn. And if you don't believe you can earn it, you won't ask for it. So then once you ask for it, you realize, oh, I can earn it. And then you do. And then your ceiling is now down here was the minimum wage version of me or you or wherever you're at. And then the next version is here. So you've done a 5X, we'll say. And now your ceiling is here. So now it's like, oh, well, yeah, I did quite well last time, but I want to try double that again. And then you ask and maybe you get a rejection. That's fine. And then you ask again and you get a new floor. So your ceiling is here now and now it's the floor. And you just keep going up and up and up. And that's how you increase your income. And as you go through that process, you'll notice that the people around you change because the mindset that you have often attracts other people with similar mindsets. And you go to different places with certain people because you have the same worldview. And so that's how you kind of start to expand your network. And when you do that, things get a lot easier because then you get a lot of referrals, you get that kind of ripple effect. And also, you know, having a social media presence is important for that too, because then people can find you organically because they're just on YouTube and they see your video pop up and then they're like, ooh, what's this person have to say? And if they like you, then they could become a customer or a client of yours. And now if you just look back to where we began, I began this journey, and I'm literally using myself as a case study here. I began this journey thinking I could only make minimum wage, and so that's all I seeked. And then slowly I started pushing the envelope a little bit. And then I created my own, you know, personal brand on social media. And that failed for many years too. Like, don't let me trick you into believing that this happened overnight. I had many failed endeavors for many years before I was able to really, you know, refine my skill stack and get to the point where some people tune in every now and again to watch the videos that I create and to listen to what I have to share. And so really this is the roadmap that I followed that I'm sharing here with you. So you can see how one little shift at one point in time leads to another version of you, and then you make another little shift, and then you keep doing that and you keep shifting and evolving through these different versions of yourself. And as you evolve, as you expand your consciousness and your awareness and your approach to life, your income, your financial situation often is going to expand with that because it is holistic. Now the next section is about skill. All of what I've said is kind of useless if you don't have a skill. You need to have some skill because that is what allows you to help people. First of all, if you want, I would watch my video about personal branding because that's got a whole framework for how I would go from having nothing to creating a creative business that generates you income. So let's say you have a skill. That skill is great, and that skill will allow you to do that one thing. So let's say my skill is video editing. I can edit videos. The problem with that is that I need somebody with videos to send me the videos. So I have a limited pool of clients there. And I don't have as much flexibility because all I can do is edit. Now, if I was also able to shoot videos, then I would be able to shoot the videos and edit videos. And that's a really good package to offer a client. So now you can go into a business and you have a skill stack that is really useful to them, because you can shoot a video and you can edit the video, and you can give them a video that they can use on their website. They can use it to run paid ads for their products or services. And that's really high value for them because they don't have to do too much. Whereas if all you can do is edit, then they're going to have to hire a videographer, and that videographer is going to go in, and then the videographer is going to make the video, and then they're going to send you the video, and then you're going to have to talk to the videographer because you're confused about the way he shot it and why he shot it that way, and you can't understand the file naming convention that he used. Then you have to go back to the client and say, hey, what do you want? And they say, I want this. And then you realize that the videographer didn't shoot that, and then all of a sudden you've got this triangle and it's pure chaos. So if you just stack the two skills of videography and editing, you can do both those things. Now, if we wanted to learn another skill on top of that stack, we could become even more powerful. We could earn even more money because we're more resourceful and we're solving a bigger problem. So let's say you are going to be a full-blown agency, like a full-blown marketing agency. I come to you, I'm like, hey, I have this product, it's really good. No idea about videos, no idea about advertising. I want you to make a campaign for me. And now all of a sudden you're making the videos, you're editing the videos, and you're running all of their ads. So you've got 3 services in one, and now you're really an integral part of that business because they can't do their marketing if it weren't for you. So you can see how stacking your skills allows you to generate a lot more income. And then let's say you've got a successful marketing agency. So now you want to learn YouTube, right? There's a lot of crossover in all those skills, but YouTube is its own thing. You know, people think that YouTube is just YouTube, and if you're good at video and all that stuff, you can make good YouTube videos. Not actually true, because titles is very important. Thumbnails are very important. And these are things that I overlook, that a lot of people overlook, and it's make or break for a channel in a lot of cases. If you don't focus on those things, then people aren't going to click on your videos, and they're not going to see the beautiful video that you've made with your other skills because you didn't learn the skill of YouTube. You can kind of go on and on and on about that. The more skills you stack, the higher income you can generate because you just solve more problems. So like with YouTube, it's great because it's higher leverage. So one video could reach 10,000 people. So that's a lot better than one email that you send to one business, and then you put in this work and the business ignores you. Whereas if you make one video and you reach 10,000 people, maybe like 1,000 leads coming from it. So you can see how the more you learn, the more skills that you gather, the more impact you can have, and the more impact that you have, the more people you help, which means more money. It's that simple. But certainly check out the personal branding video I made. I'll put it up here in a card, and that will give you a lot more detail on how to exactly go about leveraging social media specifically. In many ways, money does grant you freedom. However, in order to have money, we often need to be more free and flexible in the way that we approach money. So that means reflecting on the things I've discussed in this video. It means take risks. It means acknowledge the fact that you might actually have limiting beliefs around your potential to make money. It means doing things even though you're not going to make any money immediately. It's a dance, and it requires a certain degree of flow, a certain degree of trust, and knowing that if your intention is there to help people, that the money will come. And if it's not coming and your intention is there, you just need to reflect upon what you've done and what else you could do, because there's always blind spots, and that's why we have mentors, that's why we have coaches, that's why we learn, read books, watch videos, listen to podcasts. Trial and error is a great one, probably the most important one. But if you can do a little bit of all of those, then you are well on your way to generating the income that you desire in a way that feels fun and flexible and allows you to explore other areas of life. And in doing so, you help the world. In helping yourself, you help the world. If you want some free resources, down below there's a newsletter community you can join for free. There's also a guide there on how I generate 100,000 views per month on videos, some simple changes that I made that really helped me and might help you if you're on your personal branding journey. Other than that, catch you next time. Lots of love.